In today's webinar, we'll take a look at part 2 of strike, and today we'll talk about standing liberty quarters with full heads and Franklin halves with full bell lines. Standing liberty quarters with full heads are probably about the most interesting of all of our strike designation coins, just simply due to the amount of detail that was engraved into the head. Type 1 and Type 2 standing liberty quarters had very different heads on them, and most Type 1 heads come pretty full, even though there are a few that don't. So we'll begin our discussion with the Type 1 full head standing liberty quarter. As I said, they were generally well struck, and nearly all of them do display full heads. Also, Denver and San Francisco coins, which normally are weaker in strike than the Philadelphia coins, also do. The head on the 1916 was softly struck and somewhat mushy looking, but because it's so rare, we won't go into much detail here. The 1917 Type 1 head is the one that you'll be most likely encountering. So let's take a look at the heads on a 1917 quarter. This is a pretty flat head for a 1917 quarter. You can see the very weak detail in the hair and sort of the blending at the hairline here, and the area around the ear is not at all distinct either. Even though if this were a Type 2 style coin, it would be pretty close to a full head, for a 1917 Type 1, it's a non-full head. Our next example is one we would call just short of a full head. You can see, again, large flat areas in the hair and just general blending of some of the detail between the hat and the hair. So this is close, but we would probably not call this one a full head either. Now the next coin is one that we would call a minimum full head, and as you can see, there is some detail in the hair and some division between the locks of hair here and the cap that Liberty's wearing. Also, you see a complete hairline starting just above the eye and going down to just below the ear. So this would be a minimum full head coin for 1917. Our next one is a pretty typical full head coin for a 17. You can see the hair does sort of stand out from the cap and the cheek, and it's a fairly well-rounded lock of hair that's showing. So this coin would be pretty typical for a 1917 full head. And finally, we'll take a look at an absolute complete full head. This coin almost looks like it was a proof. It is struck so well. You can see every lock of hair, every curl, every detail is very, very sharp and clear. The eye, nose, mouth is almost three-dimensional. The coin almost looks like a Roman coin. It's in such relief. So this is sort of the benchmark that you would look at to say this is all the detail that was ever intended to be on the coin, and almost every other coin that you'll see will sort of go down from this one. Now moving on to the Type 2, in mid-1917 the whole design was modified. There's a more distinct helmet-like cap with a three-leaved wreath on Liberty's head, and the outline that runs down the face and curves back below the ear. The hair detail is cord-like with a small round hole for the ear. So for a full head designation, we're looking for 95% or more of the intended detail must be present. In most cases, we're going to be looking for 3 complete leaves. They must be distinct and visible. The outline of the cap around the face must be complete, and the ear hole must be present. So given this criteria, let's take a look at some Type 2 heads. This is a flat head, and unfortunately all too many Type 2 standing liberty quarters look like this. It almost looks like the original head was smacked with a mallet, or the ball-peen hammer even. But this is an uncirculated coin that just the details in the die flattened out, or there was poor striking pressure, and you see basically no head detail whatsoever. This next coin has some detail in the head, but we consider it short of a full head. You are almost lacking a complete hairline from above the eye to down the ear, and the 3 leaves behind Liberty's eye are partially visible, but they're not distinct and separated. So this coin, even though it's not a flat head, would still be short of a full head. Now this next coin is a just made it full head coin, just over the line. You can see the complete hairline that starts at the forehead and goes down below the ear. You can see the three leaves distinct and separated. There's a bit of mushiness at the very base of the leaves and sort of behind the eye here, but this coin would be just over the line for a full head. This fourth coin is what we might call a typical full head. In other words, it's not the best in the world, but it's certainly above the minimum. You see the three leaves clearly and a nice distinct hairline, and you see the portion hole for the ear here. And finally, we'll take a look at a monster strike, an absolutely complete full head. Like the 17 that we showed you earlier, this is a pretty amazing coin. You see the very, very sharp, distinct hairline going down to the ear, and you see the three leaves complete at the base with detail all through the lower part of the helmet here. So this is a pretty awesome full head Type 2 Standing Liberty Quarter. Now on to Franklin halves. We look on the reverse of the Franklin half at the Liberty Bell, and when the bottom set of lines across the Liberty Bell is complete and uninterrupted, it will receive the designation of full bell lines, or FBL. And again, like on the nickel, if the lines are obscured by marks, strike, planchet defects, or other sources, the coin will not receive the full bell line designation. If you have a few marks around the lines, that won't prevent an FBL designation necessarily, as long as the continuity of the lines is not disturbed. So with all that said, let's take a look at 4 examples of bells on Franklin halves. This first one is non-full bell lines. In fact, it's non-bell lines whatsoever. This is a completely blank bell just about. You can see hardly no lines on it. You can see none of the writing that's on the Liberty Bell, believe it or not. The Liberty Bell had quite a bit of writing on it. And this was just a very, very softly struck coin from a very worn die. They don't come much worse than this. But you can see the coin by the luster. You can see that this is an uncirculated coin, believe it or not. Next, we'll move on to a coin that's short of full bell lines. Now here, of course, you can see bell lines. You can read pass and stow, the abbreviation for Philadelphia. You can see the date on the bell. That's probably looks like 1753 possibly, might have been the year the bell was made. But more importantly, down here along the lower bell lines here, you can see that the center part of the bell lines are just not complete. They're just weak, particularly in the lower center section. Obviously, you all know this crack here is in the bell, so that's not considered a defect on the coin, obviously. And now we'll go from just under the line to just over the line. This is a minimum full bell line coin. You can see the complete bell lines, even though there's some areas that are a little bit soft or mushy. Essentially, the bell lines are complete at the top and bottom. There's a little cut here. That's probably not quite bad enough to stop it from being a full bell lines coin, but this is a just made it full bell lines coin, certainly not a strong one. And this last one that we'll take a look at is a complete full bell line coin. This coin has all the bell lines very visible with no weakness whatsoever and no marks of consequence to interrupt the bell lines. So this would be a pretty complete full bell line coin. And once again, you can read everything in very sharp detail on the bell as well. So we hope you've enjoyed our discussion on strike, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webcast.